Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Megan. If you are new here, if you're just stumbling upon this video, welcome. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. It has been a hot minute since I've posted a video and I'm very inspired to create content again, which is exciting. But before I start doing that and just getting into like everyday life, I wanted to give kind of like a recap of where I've been, what I've been doing, because if you saw my last video, you'll know that I'm pregnant. I'm wearing black right now, so I'll show you guys the bump pic in a second. But yeah, so lots has happened over the last few months. I can't even remember when I posted that video. I want to say maybe like May or June, and it is currently August 22nd. So it's been a hot minute and I wanted to give like a little recap of just, yeah, like where I've been, what I've been doing, what's been going on with us, because so much has happened. There's also been like so many, what hair in my mouth? So many like questions, and so I wanted to kind of like chat about those. The hair in my mouth and I'm never gonna get it. There we go. Okay, so if you're new here, if you're just like randomly stumbling upon this video, then surprise, I'm pregnant with identical twin girls. I'm currently 32 weeks pregnant and I'm going to be having them at 36 and 4 days. So coming up very quick. And it's been a wild ride of a pregnancy. So in my last video, I just posted the like finding out I'm pregnant and sharing with our friends and family, and then I shared a little like, you know, snippet at the very last moment to say like we're having twins, and then that's all I've shared. I've been actually quite active on Instagram, just like sharing the journey and sharing weekly updates. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, that's definitely like more real time. I will put my handle right here. Go check it out and follow along for all the twin content. But yeah, it's been a hot minute. So I'm gonna like go back in time and just kind of recap the journey so far. So basically, Daniel and I had talked about trying this year. We got married last August and we had said in the new year, so in 2023, we would start trying. And I did all the normal things. I like got off birth control. I went to my doctor, just like really focused on my health and wellness. I wanted to be in a good place. And my thought process after like speaking to the doctor and just like, I don't know, like assuming that things can take time, my thought process at the time was that we would get pregnant at the end of 2023. But until then, I wanted to be off birth control. I wanted to like cleanse my body. If you guys have been around here for a bit, I've been like talking about wanting to be off of it in general. So that was like my plan. And a few months into the year, we definitely like weren't like quote unquote trying, but we weren't like obviously being safe. And yeah, so it was early April 4th, and I can't even explain it, but I just like had a feeling that I was pregnant. I didn't have any signs or symptoms. I didn't have nausea, I wasn't tired, my like breasts weren't sore, like I didn't have any of the traditional like pregnancy symptoms that you have in your first trimester. I just like had a gut feeling. I can't even describe it. And so on April 4th, I took a pregnancy test. I had daily like ovulation tests, which also came with like some pregnancy tests, or just like little strips. It's not like the traditional like thing that comes in a box. And so I had taken one and it was negative. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, yeah, like to be expected, moving on. And a couple days later, I couldn't like shake the feeling. I just thought like, no, like I'm pregnant. I just like feel it. I don't know why. Again, like, I don't know, like I don't have a reason. And so 4 days later, on April 8th, I take a test, the exact same one, so just like those little strips, and it comes back positive. And I'm freaking out because we are actually just about to leave for Easter dinner at Daniel's family's house. And that's the video that you guys would have seen if you did watch my like finding out I'm pregnant video. And I take this test, I see that I'm pregnant, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? I don't want to tell Daniel right now and like spring this on him before we're going to see his family. We haven't talked about like, do we want to tell people, like whatever. And so I don't know if like 4 days before, I don't really like know a lot about this stuff, like maybe my levels weren't as high, maybe I didn't like pee on the stick properly, like maybe I didn't let it sit long enough, like I have no idea, because obviously at that point I was several weeks pregnant, so I'm not sure like why it was negative. But either way, I find out that I'm pregnant, and I then end up taking a box test. I think that gives you like an estimated date, and I think it said like 3 to 4 weeks. And so I just assume like that's what I am, and I tell Daniel, like you'll see all that in the video, and I book an appointment with my doctor. And because I don't, obviously I've never been pregnant before, I don't know like the steps or anything like that, and basically she tells me like I'll go for an ultrasound. That's kind of like the first step, and then like essentially we'll go from there. And I also had to decide between like family doctor or midwife, and I felt very passionate about going in the direction of a midwife. That's just always the experience like I envisioned for myself. And so got in touch with a midwifery place, and I had a midwife in mind. It was actually like a friend of ours and stuff, so got all that set up. And I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but in the Kitchener-Waterloo area at the time, I don't know if it's still like it, but they were very behind on, or not behind, but they were like short-staffed with ultrasound techs. And so often people will get an ultrasound at like 7-8 weeks, called like an early dating ultrasound, I think is what it's called, which I tried to get and I absolutely couldn't. I like reached out to 10 clinics and none of them could get me in for an appointment. The earliest they could get me in was at my 12-week mark, which is like the standard one if you're not doing an early date detection ultrasound. So my first ultrasound was going to be at 12 weeks. And Daniel and I had decided that we weren't going to tell anybody till after the first trimester. My parents were also out of town, out west, living, and I really wanted to make sure I like told them in person. That was really important to me. So we chose to wait. So during my first trimester, I didn't have like any symptoms, like nothing at all. I had no sickness. The only like symptom I would say that I had, and this was like towards the end of my first trimester, was I felt like a little bit nauseous after dinner, but nothing that like a few crackers or like eating something wouldn't help. It wasn't like drastic. I never threw up. Like it didn't like impact me from going anywhere. And so I didn't like have a lot going on, and so I just like lived my everyday life. I was so busy with work. I had like quite a few clients at the time. I was working my 9 to 5, just like life felt busy, and there was a certain level of like anxiety that came with not being able, or like not having symptoms, as weird as that may sound. Like looking back, I'm obviously like grateful, but at the time it's almost like you like want some sort of symptom to know like, okay, this is real, this is like happening to my body. Whereas like I know when I pee on this stick it says I'm pregnant, but other than that I don't feel like anything different in my body. And so that was like a weird experience to go through. So when we got to our 12-week appointment for the ultrasound, I'd never had an ultrasound before in general, let alone obviously for a pregnancy. And I don't know again if it's the same everywhere, but here in Ontario you can get genetic testing that's covered by OHIP with your first ultrasound. And the way it works is you get your ultrasound and you have to go to blood work right after, because they use the measurements from that ultrasound with the blood work. And so because I had never had, when I had called the clinic and I had said, this is my first ultrasound, like how long is the process, because I need to book an appointment for my blood work, like I can't just take the day off and like wait around. So I want to have these like scheduled. And they had told me that it's around 20 minutes for the ultrasound. They essentially like do some like checks. The baby's like so small at that point. It's very quick, and then your partner gets to come in. You can ask like some questions and then you're on your way. So my ultrasound was at 8 a.m. and my blood work I scheduled for 9 a.m. I was like, that should be like more than enough time. And so Daniel and I go to the appointment, and at this point again, nobody knows, or no, at this point like our parents and our siblings knew that we were pregnant, but that's it. No friends or anything. And we go to the appointment and I'm waiting. They call me in and I'm in there. Again, never had one before, but if you've had an ultrasound for pregnancy, you know, you're just like laying there in a dark room, like you don't see a screen, like they're not really like talking to you. I'm like asking questions here and there just to kind of like validate the way that I'm feeling. She's answering in a positive way, but for the most part I'm just like staring up at the ceiling in this dark room, can't even see anything. And I start to feel like it's taking a long time. I don't have access to a clock, so I have no idea, but I just like feel like I'm in there for a really long time. And I'm starting to get like a little worried. Like, is there something wrong? Like, why is this taking so long? But I have no concept of like time at this point. So then at one point she asks me to go empty half my bladder. And when you go for the appointments early on, you have to drink a liter of water to help with like seeing the baby because it's so small. And so I was like, that's weird, because like it takes a long time for like water to make its way to your bladder. And I had asked her, I'm like, how long does it like take for water to fill your bladder? She's like, oh, about like 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm like trying to do the math in my head, and like looking back, I'm like, why didn't I just ask like what time like it is, or like how long have I been here? But whatever. And I'm like, this means that I've like been here for 45 minutes to like an hour. Like what the heck is going on? Slash more, because I drank the water before coming here. And so I go empty my bladder, I come back out, I'm laying there, and it feels like it's forever. And finally she's like, okay, like we're all done, like let's go get dad. What's his name? I'll call him in. She brings in Daniel, and Daniel looks like he has seen a ghost. And I'm like, what the heck? And he is super concerned. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, are you? Like, what's going on? He's like, you've just been in here for so long. And after the fact, he told me that like 4 women had gone in for their appointments and like come right back out. So he was like sitting out there freaking out. And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what's going on. So all of a sudden she's like, so I have a surprise. And we're like, what? And she's like, there's 2. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you're having twins. And I wish I had this like beautiful story where I was like, what a miracle, like this is such a blessing. But I was unconsolable. I was bawling my eyes out, sobbing. Daniel's like not saying anything. He's totally shocked too. I don't know how to explain it, but like in the span of like literally seconds, like minutes, I had all these like worrisome slash like negative thoughts that came into my mind from like, how am I gonna be able to carry 2 babies? Like, are they gonna be okay? Am I gonna be okay? What does this look like for my pregnancy? Like, what if something is wrong with them? Financially, like what does this look like? Like, I don't even know how to take care of 1 baby. Like, how am I gonna do this with 2 babies? Like, all of these like thoughts just came like flooding, and I was distraught. I was so emotional. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't even focus. And I felt so bad for the ultrasound tech because she's trying to like, you know, keep it positive. And essentially like all she told us was that they are identical twins because they share a placenta. So I only have one placenta. And essentially what happened was that the embryo had split in half, therefore creating 2 babies, 1 placenta. Okay, sorry, Daniel was calling me. And yeah, so she basically like explains that. She says she's going to share the report with my midwife as well as my family doctor. She did say that I would not be able to continue in care with my midwife, which was really upsetting. And then she sent me on my way. And Daniel and I were like in shock. Like we had nothing to say. We were like, oh my gosh. Like I remember like calling my mom and like showing her the ultrasound via FaceTime, and I'm like bawling my eyes out. Like, you know, we went straight to Daniel's parents and like told them, and I'm crying, and it was like a big shock to experience that. And I just like wasn't prepared for it. And again, I wish I had this like beautiful story, but that's how it happened. And shortly after that, I guess a day or so later, I get a call from my midwife, obviously like giving us the report. And at the time, and I guess this is like more common than not just because the baby's so small, the ultrasound tech had recorded that twin B possibly had what's called clubfoot. So essentially, I mean, you can look it up, but because of that, they didn't have like the technology to do like a more extensive scan. And so I got referred to McMaster Children's Hospital to see a more like high-tech ultrasound technician. And I was gonna get seen by a high-risk OB, like a maternal fetal medicine doctor. And once again, which was like validating my fears, I was freaking, pardon my language, the F out. I was, of course, like Googling everything. I was reading so much about like identical twins and the risks associated with it, and like if twin B had clubfoot, like what would that look like? And it was bad. So ultimately I just really like checked out, and or not even checked out, but like checked out from, you know, creating content, because it didn't end up like turning into this like beautiful pregnancy story at the beginning. Now in hindsight, I've had a really great pregnancy, which obviously I'll share more of. But at the time, like my mind was just like elsewhere now. Like I was very focused on what this meant. And so shortly after that, we had our appointment at McMaster. We did more genetic testing, got more testing for the babies done, and ultimately like there was no clubfoot. It was just essentially the way the position was of the baby. It can often be times like a shadow, or it's just like the angle that they're in, but as to be safe, they have to record it, which I'm grateful for. But it ended up being nothing. So both twins are okay, like there's no clubfoot. But at the time, they explained that because the types of twins I have, which I have monodi twins, which means they are identical twins because they share a placenta. So they are each in their own sacs, but they share resources from one placenta. And because of that, I am put into this high risk category. I actually think like with twins in general, like no matter the type, you're kind of deemed high risk. But because of the type that I had, they really suggested that I be monitored quite actively because they want to make sure that they're growing at the same speed, because they share resources from one placenta. And so they want to make sure that both twins are getting everything that they need. And so that was a big thing for us, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, this isn't just this like smooth sailing situation anymore. Like I'm being referred to this hospital. I'm like seeing an MFM now. I'm getting like bi-weekly ultrasounds. Like it's just changed the whole dynamic. And so basically what ended up happening for my care, to like fast forward this story along a little bit, is I got transferred into McMaster Hospital. I only got to see, or get to see, my midwife from like an emotional slash like support person side, not so much like they don't care for the babies anymore. And same with my family doctor. I got removed from her, and I see this like maternal fetal medicine doctor who essentially is like a high risk OB/GYN. They're just like specialized in, well, lots of pregnancies, but like specifically with twin pregnancies and caring for them. And I had to be monitored every 2 weeks, and I live in Kitchener, so I had to drive to McMaster every 2 weeks, and I had to get ultrasounds every single time because they measured the babies as well as all the fluids and all the Dopplers of like just like red blood cells and like circulation, all that stuff. And then after each appointment, I had to meet with the doctor to essentially like go over it. So every 2 weeks I had to do that. It was like a half-day minimum ordeal. I still do it now, and I'm actually being bumped to weekly starting next week. So yeah, it's been a journey. And so with that being said, I feel like I just kind of like, I don't know, like had other stuff going on that I didn't feel like necessarily creating content. And in the midst of the craziness of carrying twins, we've had so much else go on in life in the past like 7 months. And so it's just been crazy. And so to kind of like Cole's notes the rest of this, the twins are actually doing really good. They've had great results every time that I've gone. They're growing at a good rate. And in this current moment, they are, twin A is 4.3 pounds and twin B is 4 pounds. I'm, like I said, 32 weeks, and I'm getting a scheduled C-section at 36 in 4 days. Because that's the other thing with monodi twins, identical twins. You can't go past 37, or it's not suggested because it can have more risks after that. And so that is the plan for us, which is coming up very, very quick. Yeah, and they've done really well. I've had really good results, and it's been a very like smooth pregnancy. I've overall felt really good. My second trimester was definitely my best, which I think like everyone says, pregnant with one or multiples. And my third trimester, which I'm in right now, I still feel very good. I'm just like very large. Well, I feel very large, and I feel very like sore and like achy, and obviously I'm not like sleeping the best, which like affects me like during the day, which I think are all normal things. Doesn't matter if you have 1 baby, 2 babies, 3 babies, it's towards the end, it's rough. And the difference with me is carrying twins is that I am at the size right now, and I have been for a few weeks, since week 30. I'm at the size of someone who would be measuring at 40 weeks with 1 baby. And so I'm just gonna get obviously bigger because I'm only in my 32nd week. But yeah, let me see if I can like kind of show you. I'm wearing like black, but yeah, so nothing too crazy, but I'm definitely feeling like it's a lot of weight, and 2 babies is a lot. Like the doctor feels confident that they could get to 6 pounds each, which is such a blessing. My goal at the beginning was 4.5 pounds to 5 pounds, and they will definitely hopefully surpass that. And so that will be really nice for them. Not so much me carrying 12 pounds of baby and everything else, but yeah, so that has been the journey so far with finding out we're pregnant, finding out we're having twins and being in this like high risk category and being kind of transferred into McMaster Children's Hospital care and like going through that whole ordeal. So it's been a crazy ride from like the pregnancy perspective. Now, throughout the journey as well, we have moved. So if you don't recognize the digs, we've moved places. So we obviously like we're staying with my at my parents' home because they live out west. So we were staying at their home here in Kitchener with my sisters, and obviously needed our own space since we have 2 babies coming. So we've moved, which I'm gonna give like a little bit of a home tour in another video because I'm gonna pick up the vlog again. So I'll share you more of that, but I'm currently sitting in the nursery right now. So we've moved in that period of time. Daniel has started not 1 but 2 new jobs. Actually, I think he would have already started. No, yeah, he had already started prior to being pregnant. But now he has started a new job, and that has been like a huge transition as well. It's like really exciting for his career and his growth. I have been so busy with clients and doing like a million work related things just to like get ready for being off on mat leave. So I've had Mint and Poppy clients, which are my design clients. I've had I work for a naturopath clinic, a wellness clinic, so I've been doing content and marketing for them. I've been like working with a couple other agencies, like doing some support work for them, and I have my regular 9 to 5. So it has been chaos. We had a trip in there, like it's just been nuts. And life feels like it's starting to settle down, only for 5 minutes before the twins come. But yeah, so that is like the update of like where I've been. I'm really hoping to get back into vlogging. I've like felt the itch to create content. I think it's always hard with like so much going on and like being in my parents' home. Like obviously my sisters are around, and it's like not, I don't want to like shove a camera in someone's face all the time. And it was a very like busy household with all of us living there. And so now that we're kind of like in our own space, I feel excited to share again and like document these moments, because I look back at my vlogs and it's just like so special, you know? So yeah, that is the update of where I've been and like what I've been doing. And it feels crazy. So I'm gonna be sharing lots more like mom life, twin life, updates, all that stuff. I wanted to answer like a couple questions. Yeah, and the biggest one is that everyone asks is, do twins run in your family? And the answer is no. I do actually think that Daniel has twins on his side, like cousins, I think, and they're fraternal, which is also called like die-die twins. But what we found out is often the gene is on the woman's side if it's going to like run in the family. So technically I think it would be like if it was on my side of the family, there'd be a possibility for fraternal twins, which it is not. So we don't have any twins in the family, and I knew nothing about twins before, but identical twins are just a fluke. It's essentially like one embryo and it has split in half, and they share a placenta because there was only meant to be one. And yeah, so it's just a fluke. So nothing to do with like running in the family or genetics or anything like that. So that was that question. How I found out, I told you guys that side of the story. And then we did find out that we are having girls. Obviously they're identical, so they're 2 girls. Yeah, we're really excited. We have names picked out, but we're obviously going to be sharing when they are born. And yeah, I think that's like most of the update. I think that's the tea. So anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up because I feel like it's kind of long now and I'm like out of breath and need water. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm picking up the camera tomorrow to start a little vlog, which again, I'll show you guys like our new place. We still are waiting on some furniture, but for the most part, everything is here. We are getting ready for the arrival of the twins, but I'm excited to share lots of stuff. Like I want to pack like my hospital bag and get all ready for that, and just like all the nesting content and just like everyday life in this like new era that I'm in. So yeah, that is the update. If you've stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, like drop them below and I'll answer them maybe in a future video or comment back or whatnot. But yeah, don't forget to follow me on Instagram because I'm definitely like sharing more on there. I've been doing weekly updates, sharing the bump as well as like sharing everything that's been going on in the week, so that's been good. And I will see you guys in my next video.